Hello friends, and welcome to another video from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about different stories from the rich Star Trek universe. 50 years and 3 days ago, NBC aired a new episode of the classic Star Trek series called Spectre of the Gun, and these are my honest opinions about it. This episode was written by a great Star Trek writer, Mr. Lee Cronin. In the case you don't know, it was just a pen name for Gene L. Coon, one of the best Star Trek writers ever, and the previous line producer for parts of Season 1 and Season 2. He has submitted stories for the third season too, but under a different name, because he was working for a different show, and so he couldn't legally work for Star Trek. His previous episode for the first season was unfortunately Spock's Brain, one of the, if not the worst episodes of Star Trek ever, so this one should be better. Much better. And you know what? I think it is. I think it's one of the best episodes of Season 3. The Enterprise is on a mission to establish diplomatic contact with the Melkosians, when they're suddenly stopped by a strange space boy warning them not to come any closer and leave Melkosian space immediately. Why am I getting the Corbomite maneuver flashbacks? Must be just me. The interesting bit is that every crew member hears the warning in their native language, which is a pretty big plot point. It means that the Melkosians can play with human and humanoid brains. But orders are orders, and an away team containing the usual suspects, Kirk, Spock and McCoy, and this time also Scotty and Chekhov, beams down only to end up in a place filled with fog. None of their equipment is working, and they suddenly encounter a wooden statue on a stick, which I guess is supposed to be a Melkosian. He informs them that they will be punished for not obeying their requests, and that the way of their death will be taken from Kirk's mind. And the crew gets teleported to a facade of a western town set, or hard to describe it. It's very interesting that the only parts of the building standing are only the front walls, but when they enter each building, it still exists from the inside. I know that this was done to save some money, but still, it works perfectly for the story they are trying to tell. I love it. Kirk notices a newspaper, and he finds out that they are in Tombstone, Arizona, on the 26th of October, 1881. And even I, a European guy, know what happened in Tombstone, Arizona, thanks to all of the pop culture references. Spock assumes that this is the punishment, which the Melkosian mentioned, because Kirk's ancestors were living in the Wild West. The Melkosians brought them to the Wild West to die. A man with a sheriff's badge suddenly goes to them and identifies them as the members of the Clanton's gang. Kirk is Ike Clanton, Spock is Frank McClory, McCoy is Tom McClory, Scotty is Billy Claiborne, and Chekhov is Billy Clanton. And the Clantons get shot that day in Tombstone by a different gang, the Earps, consisting of the brothers Wyatt, Morgan, and Virgil Earp, and Doug Holliday. And they soon meet Morgan Earp in the cantina after he shoots a random guy on the street. In the bar, Billy, is, let's say, greeted by a young, attractive woman named Sylvia, and he plays along. Who wouldn't? Morgan watches them, and when Kirk stands up, he thinks that he wants to start an attack, so Spock has to put him back down. But still, Morgan promises them that he will get them to draw soon enough before he leaves. The thing is that, according to Spock, on that day at 5 p.m., the Clantons will be shot to death, by the Earps at the OK Corral. Kirk tries to talk some sense into, well, everybody, but all of the people who he talks to, the bartender, the sheriff, and even the Earps, think that he's Ike and that he's trying to play some game with them. So our heroes try to leave the town, but they are soon stopped by a green force field, which means that the Melkosians won't play fair. They just want to let them die. So they need a different plan, and McCoy and Spock start to think about some tranquilizer gas. McCoy goes to the barber to borrow some chemicals, and he finally meets Doc Holliday, the town's dentist, and a member of the Earp clan. Chekhov meanwhile spends some quality time with Sylvia, but when they start to kiss, Morgan comes to ruin their fun. He slaps Chekhov and wants to take Sylvia away, but Chekhov stands up and starts to behave like a real man. So Morgan shoots him. So Chekhov is not only a brave man, he is a dead brave man. Shit just got real. After almost getting shot by the Earps, the surviving crew members get out and start working on the tranquilizer gas again, despite being negatively affected by Chekhov's death. Spock, however, remembers a very important thing. Chekhov played Billy Claiborne, and he's dead, but the real Billy Claiborne survived the OK Corral shootout, which means that things are different now and they still might have a chance. Kirk meanwhile tries to get the sheriff to solve their problem using a legal method, but he doesn't want to do anything with legal solutions. Everybody in the town seems to want the Earps dead, and they hope the Clantons will do it for them. When the angry Kirk gets back, the others have finished their work with the gas. Kirk wants them to test it before the usage, so Scotty plays the drunk guinea pig. They test the gas on him and nothing happens. Spock says that it's impossible and starts to doubt the reality of all of this. Kirk then has another plan. They won't move out of the building until 5 p.m., but suddenly it's 5 p.m. and they get moved to OK Corral. So the Melkosians honestly won't play fair, they just want them dead. Well, that's rude. The place is surrounded by the same green force fields they have seen before, so they can't get out, but Spock finally understands what is going on in there. The whole thing is only going on in their minds. So if they stop believing that this is reality, nothing can happen to them. But Dr. McCoy, as usually, has a good point. Maybe a Vulcan can program himself not to believe all of his senses, but they are humans. So while the Earps are coming there, Spock, using a mind meld, slowly convinces everybody that this is not happening, which means when the Earps finally arrive, they provoke them to start shooting, but they ignore them. So when the Earps start shooting, their bullets simply fly through our heroes. When they run out of ammo, Kirk starts to attack them. He gets a chance to shoot White Earp, but he refuses. And that's when they all, including Chekhov, who is of course completely healthy, get beamed back to the ship. The fact that Kirk refused to kill Wyatt made an impression on the Melkosians. The boy is back in the front of the ship, but it soon blows up and the head of the Melkosian appears on screen. They have decided to accept the invitation and they are suddenly interested in starting a diplomatic relationship. And the episode ends with a nice friendly scene on the bridge. This episode is one of the few stories written for the third season by the one and only Gene L. Coon under the pseudonym Lee Cronin. Originally it was planned to be filmed in an actual western town. Unfortunately, after the budget cuts, they suddenly couldn't allow it. So they shot it on the standard planet stage and wanted to build the buildings, but they unfortunately didn't have the money to build more than the front walls. but in my opinion it actually helped the episode. The fact that it doesn't look real makes perfect sense with the context of the episode, so I won't comment on the designs you see in this episode. I won't also comment about the historic event, because the only thing I know about it is taken from different Hollywood productions, and I don't really care enough to make some proper research. I want, however, to talk about something else, and that's the story. Haven't we seen all of it before? I mean, let's think about it for a moment. The Enterprise tries to start a diplomatic relationship with a previously uncontacted and hostile race, just like in A Taste of Armageddon. That they meet a space boy, which prevents them from continuing further, just like in the Corbomite maneuver. In the end, Kirk has a chance to kill the enemy, but decides not to, just like in, for example, Arena. So many things are reused from previous episodes, including episodes written by Gene Coon himself. Even the main plotline, the Tombstone part, is far from perfect. There are way too many parts which are way too slow and repetitive. Why does Kirk, for example, constantly try to convince all of the other people who they really are? He has no reason to think that their opinions will change. But to be perfectly honest, this episode is very, very enjoyable to watch. On my standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 5 is just average, and 10 is a masterpiece, I think I would give this episode 8 out of 10. Definitely far above average, but also far from a masterpiece. But as always, these were just my opinions. Feel free to let me know what do you think about this episode. Did you like it, love it, hate it, or did you just think it's just average? If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up button, and if you have some free time, you can watch any of the other videos on my channel. You should see some links on screen right now. Thank you very much for watching, and see you very soon. I need some warm tea. Bye.